Hi, good evening, everyone. Myself, Dr.R.Thiagarajan, Associate Professor and Head of the Department of IT, Prathyusha Engineering College. Today we are have a technology update meet. Our topic is artificial neural networks. So we have some small discussion regarding artificial neural networks. First of all, we want to know what is an artificial neural network. So basically, an artificial neural network are said to be computational models, and it is inspired by the human brain. Many of the recent advancement in field of AI, that is an advancement field of AI, including, say for example, some voice recognition, image recognition, and robotics using artificial neural networks and all. And in this artificial neural network, uh, as I said before, it is composed of some that is similar to, we are going to have a comparison in terms of human neurons, that is biologically inspired simulation performed on the computer. It will perform certain tasks. So the tasks such as clustering, classification, and pattern recognition, etc. And we want to know, first of all, what is my neural network? Actually, we discussed what is said to be artificial neural network. So initially, we want to know what is neural network. So neural, in that sense, that is the term refers to as an origin from the human nerve system basic functional unit called, it is called as neurons. Neurons that is present in the human brain and other parts of human body, say for example, animal too. A neural network is composed of a group of algorithms that certify the underlying relationship in a set of data, that is similar set of data to the human brain. Also, the neural networks helps to change the input. So, the what is the net result actually are getting? That network gives the best result without designing the output procedure. So, whatever it is, as the expected result we are getting. And followed by want to know what about the neuron and its functions. Actually, the typical nerve system, that is nerve cell of a human brain, maximum is comprised of four parts. One is function of dendrite. It means it can receive the signal from other neurons, okay, from the neighbor neurons, like that, from an alternate neurons. And one more thing is soma, that is cell body. Actually, it means it sums all the incoming signals. Anyway, previously what I said, it receives a signal from other neurons. That is a function of dendrite. So in the soma, it sums all the incoming signals to generate the input. Okay, and followed by the third one is axon structure. Actually, what happens after receiving all the input signal, when it reaches a threshold value, the new neuron fires and the signal travels down the axon to the other neuron. Okay, that is the process. Initially, it will receive the signal. After receive the signal, what happens? After make it summing the input signals, it reaches the threshold. Once it reaches a threshold value, um, the signal travel down to the axon to the other neuron, and synapses working. Actually, it means the point of interconnection of one neuron with other neurons. What about the interconnection in between both the neurons? It is said to be synapses working one. And also, the amount of signal depends upon the strength of the connections in between the neurons. Okay. And first of all, we want to know, actually, the thing is, yeah, just so what is the difference between computer and a human brain? So now we discuss what is my neuron and what is my neural network and what is my artificial neural network. At least we discussed what is what about some basics, okay? And what is the difference between computer and the human brain? So we have terms related to brain as well as the computer human. That is the computer and the human brain. So in the human brain, biological neurons we call our nerve cells, there we are going to call silicon transistors. And in the human brain, 200 billion neurons and 32 trillion interconnections will be there, but 1 billion bytes of ram and trillion of bytes on disk in your computer. and neuron size is 10 to 6 meter here, and in the computer single transistor size, that is 10 to 9 meter, and the energy consumption in terms of joules, 6 to 10 joules per operation per second, and the energy consumption in your computer, it is based on 10 to 16 joules per operation per second. And learning capability it will have the human brain, but we have the programming capability in the computers. And the next thing is, after had a discussion of basics, what about the terms? What does that is? How does the artificial neural network will work? So what is the procedure? How it is working? So that is the next thing. Actually, just look up the representation. So we have the clear representation how it will be working. So initially, this artificial neural network can be viewed as a weighted directed graph. Actually, the representation indicates it is said to be a weighted directed graph in which artificial neurons are said to be here nodes, and the direct edges with weights connections between the neuron outputs and neuron inputs. Okay, and followed by the artificial neural network receive the information from the external world in the pattern and image in the vector form only. Okay, and each input is multiplied by its corresponding weights. Actually, we know that the weights will be represented here. So each input will be multiplied by its corresponding weights, and weights are the information used by the neural network to solve a problem. Typically, the weight represents the strength of the interconnection between neurons inside the neural network. After receiving the total input and multiplied by the weights, the weighted inputs are all summed up inside the computing unit. In the case of weighted sum is 0, bias is added to make the output. Okay, so everything is mentioned in the diagram itself. So this is a procedure. So if it is 0, bias is added to make the output, and not 0 or to scale up the system response, but as the weight and input always equal to 1. Finally, the sum corresponds to any numerical value ranging from 0 to infinity. To limit the response to arrive at the desired level, the threshold value is set up here. For this, the sum is forwarded through an activation function. Okay, so based on this, the activation function is set to the transfer function to get the desired output. And also there are linear as well as non-linear active functions too. Okay, and this is the working procedure. How does artificial neural network works? So this is a working procedure, and this is the procedure followed. Okay, actually we are getting the input value and we are going to make it multiply the sum one. We are going to add it a bias based upon the input is in 0 or not 0. After attaining the threshold value, the enter threshold unit is to be, so that is finally actually sum corresponds to any numerical value ranging from 0 to infinity, and the response to arrive the desired layer, the threshold value is set up. For this, the sum is forwarded through an activation function. Okay, so what are the types of neural networks in artificial intelligence now? Up to now, we discussed what is my neural network, what is my artificial neural network, what is the difference between human brain and the computer, and followed by we have artificial, that is what is my neural network procedure, how it works, and also what are the types of neural networks in artificial intelligence. That is a basic thing. So based on the parameters, we have certain types will be there, and we have a certain description. Actually, parameter based on connection pattern types: fed forward, recurrent. And what is buffer forward? Actually, in the graphs are no loops, and recurrent loops occur, but because of loops occur because of the feedback. And likewise, some parameters such as based on the number of hidden layers, it may be single or multiple layers, and single layer having only secret layer, and multiple having some multiple secret layers. And also the parameters based on the nature of weights, it may be fixed or adaptive. If it is a fixed one, not changed at all. If it's an adaptive one, changes during the training period. Okay, and based on memory unit, it may be static and dynamic. So everyone aware of static and dynamic. So static in the sense memory less unit, and if it is a dynamic, that is a memory unit, the output depends upon the current input as well as the current output. Example, recurrent neural one. And then followed by artificial neural network architecture. So this is the basic architecture of artificial neural network. So it consists of some three layers. One is input layer, hidden layer, as well as the output layer. In between the input and output layer, we have a layer called hidden one, that is said to be hidden layer. Okay, it consists of large number of artificial neurons called as units. Each and every neurons is said to be units here, arranged in a series of layers. Okay, and then what is meant by an input layer? Now, anyway, you know that it contains those units which receive the input from the real world, and which the network will learn, recognize about, or otherwise process. An output layer, it contains units that respond to the information about how it learned the task, any whatever it may be the task. And what's my hidden layer? In between the input and output layer, we have the hidden layer. So the hidden layer, these units are in between the input and output layers. The hidden layer job is to transform the input in something that output unit can use somehow. Okay, and these are all three types of layers in your artificial neural network architecture. And what are all the neural network learning techniques available? So there are some three to four types of learning techniques. One is supervised, unsupervised, reinforcement, offline, as well as online. So the very first one is supervised one. So supervised in the sense the training data is input to the network, and the desired output is known weights and adjusted till production else the desired value. Okay, so already we discussed the procedure in that working principle also. So here the difference between the supervised and unsupervised is, in the unsupervised one, the network classifies the input data and adjusts the weight by feature extraction in the input. Okay, and followed by reinforcement in the sense it is also called a semi-supervised learning. Here the output value is unknown, but the network provides feedback on whether the output is right or wrong. And followed by offline as well as online. Offline in the sense the weight vector adjustment and threshold adjustment. Okay, both are made only after the training set is shown to the network. And also online, the adjustment of the weight and threshold is made after presenting each training sample to the network one. Okay, and this is said to be an online one. So these are the five types of learning techniques in your neural network. And followed by what are all the different techniques of neural network. Actually, basically we have four types of neural network techniques. One is classification neural network, and the next one is prediction neural network, and followed by clustering neural network, and the last one is association neural network. So very first one is classification. Actually, in this neural network can be trained to classify a given pattern. The neural network is trained to classify whatever it may be the given pattern, that is as a query or a data set, into a predefined class. It uses feed forward networks. Okay, and the prediction one, a neural network can be trained to produce outputs that are expected from a given output. Already we know that what about the known what about the input based upon the given input, and what about my expected output one. Okay, that is said to be stock market prediction. Just basic example is prediction neural network, followed by the classification one. And the next one is clustering neural network, the third type. In this neural network, the neural network can identify unique feature of the data and classify them into different categories without any prior of knowledge of the data. Okay, that is said to be clustering one. So based on the classification, we are going to have different categories, but we are not having any prior knowledge of the data. And the next one is association one. In this association, train the neural network to remember the particular pattern when the noise pattern is presented to the network, and the network associate it with this memory closest to, or else we are going to say discards it. The best example is half-field networks, which performs recognition, classification, and clustering. So these are all some of the techniques in the neural network: the classification, clustering, and recognition. That is said to be pattern recognition too. So these are also different techniques of your neural networks. Uh, we discuss some basic information about what is my neural network and what is meant by artificial neural network, and how the neural network works, and what are the different techniques of your neural network, and how the neural network with artificial intelligence and different technologies, that is what are the different terms we are using in artificial neural network, and based on the parameters how it is to be differentiate. Okay, and what are the different learning techniques available in the neural network, and finally we discuss about what are the different techniques of your neural networks. Okay, say for example we have four techniques: classification neural network, prediction, as well as clustering, as well as association one. Thank you all. Thank you very much.